everyone, welcome to Live Interactive English. This is Karen.
Welcome everybody, I am Shane.
Today, we have a lesson called The Goat That Escapes, the origin of scapegoat. And the vocabulary words are escape.
Escape.
The police caught the suspect, but he later escaped.
Scholar.
Scholar.
Mr. White is a research scholar in the field of mathematics.
Translator.
Translator.
We'll need the help of a translator to figure out what this says.
Confess.
Confess.
I must confess that I had no idea what he was talking about.
Yeah, me neither.
No idea. What is he talking about?
I have no idea. Nevertheless.
Nevertheless.
She didn't think that she was wrong. Nevertheless, she apologized.
Oh, I'm always apologizing for things that I didn't do wrong.
Really?
Yeah.
Because you're always being blamed?
I think people are trying to turn me into a scapegoat.
A what?
A scapegoat.
What's a scapegoat?
It's a goat that scapes.
So it's someone that is being blamed for something they did not do?
Yeah, basically. So, for example, let's say I did something wrong, right?
Okay.
But I don't want to get the blame for it.
You don't want people to say that you did something wrong.
So I can then shift the blame to you, for example.
So I will be the scapegoat.
And you will be the scapegoat. So I don't know what you're talking about. It was Karen who did that. And then I will get everybody to blame you, and you will be our scapegoat.
That is not a right thing to do.
It's not very nice. But why goat? And escape?
I think there's a story behind it, right?
Yeah.
Is it a long time ago?
It's a long time ago. Well, it's based on a tradition where a priest, basically, if you sinned or did something wrong, right, you would go to a priest, and the priest could help you get rid of these sins.
So he would place his hand on the goat's head. This is from a long time ago.
Yeah.
And he would transfer
your sins
and onto the goat.
The goat. So now you are free of all of your wrongdoing and your sins. And now this poor goat has your sins and he goes off into the wild. But hey, you're okay. So God feels, hey, no problem, buddy. Good job. And you're like, yay.
Poor goat.
Poor goat, right? So it's not nice to make people a scapegoat.
Exactly.
Even if it's really a goat.
Kind of interesting, though.
It's a very interesting, this is the etymology of the word scapegoat is quite interesting.
I just wonder why they used goat and not something else.
Yeah, who knows?
Okay, let's learn more, guys. Enjoy.
Enjoy.
The goat that escapes. The origin of scapegoat. The word scapegoat is a term that may come across as confusing. It did once have something to do with goats, but it now refers to someone who is irrationally blamed for the bad deeds of others. But what, you might wonder, would a goat have to do with blame?
Welcome to Live Interactive English Magazine. Mike, today's lesson is called The Goat That Escapes.
Yes.
The origin of scapegoat.
That's right.
And my name is Jeff. Color me confused. What are we talking about?
You're confused, are you? Well, I'm Mike, and well, hopefully this article will clear things up for you a little bit. It is a slightly confusing title. Let's focus on that scapegoat, because that's really what we'll be looking at in the article. But yes, I guess you could say the scapegoat is the goat that escapes. And before we get to scapegoat, we should...
No, a scapegoat, right?
Yeah.
They don't escape, right? They're the ones who have to take the punishment even though they've done nothing wrong, maybe?
That's what a scapegoat is, but it actually goes back to maybe... anyway, let's talk about the verb escape. Let's just keep things simple at the start. To escape is to get free, to get loose, to find your freedom. When you escape, you get out of probably a bad place or a bad situation. You would want to escape from a building if it was on fire. Prisoners might try to escape from jail or something like that. And if you escape from being punished by your teacher when you do something naughty, you should count yourself lucky. For example, the police caught the suspect, but he later escaped.
He later escaped.
Got away.
And they found someone else, and they made that person the scapegoat and blamed him and sent him to jail for this other person's crime, because that's what a scapegoat is. So, a goat that escapes? Forget it. Let's just start reading. The word scapegoat is a term that may come across as confusing. And yes, I am confused. Now, more on this word scapegoat. It did once have something to do with goats, but it now refers to someone who is irrationally blamed for the bad deeds of others. So yeah, the scapegoat doesn't get to escape.
All right. So this is the kind of thing you might come across. Let's say there's a basketball team that's playing really badly, right? Instead of firing all the players, they'll fire the coach. Now, many of the fans might say, well, it's not really the coach's fault. He's working hard. It's the rich players who are just being lazy, but the coach is the scapegoat. He's being blamed for the bad actions of others because, let's face it, it's easier to fire one coach than the whole team of players. So the coach in that case would be the scapegoat. He's getting the blame, but it's not really his fault. Anyways, back to the article. It says, but what, you might wonder, would a goat have to do with blame? Yeah, so where did the goat get blamed for things? Why is the goat being a scapegoat? Did the goat escape? It is confusing.
You see, it is confusing. Maybe we'll clear things up or gain some clarity, get some clarity on the issue after we take a break. So, let's do it. Let's take a break. All right.
Hello， 大家好，我是 Hanny。这次的课文标题是 The Goat That Escapes: The Origin of Scapegoat。先来看看单字 escape 这个字，它可以当动词或当名词。当动词就表示逃跑、逃脱或者是逃避，它也可以当名词表示逃跑、逃脱、逃避这样。好，至于 scapegoat 表示代罪羔羊或是背黑锅的人。那今天的课文就是要介绍代罪羔羊 scapegoat 这个字的由来。Scapegoat 这个字呢，过去曾经跟山羊有关，现在则是用来指因为别人的恶行而无端遭到怪罪的人。可是山羊跟怪罪到底有什么关联呢？我们先来看补充单字 irrationally。Irrationally 它是副词，表示不合理的、不理性的。好，那我们赶快回到课文中来寻找解答吧。
The goat that escapes. The origin of scapegoat. The word scapegoat was actually invented by a Christian scholar and biblical translator named William Tyndale in 1530. One of the passages Tyndale translated describes an ancient Hebrew ceremony in which a high priest would place his hands on the head of a goat and confess his people's sins. According to tradition, the act would transfer the sins to the animal, which was then let loose into the wild, taking the burden of the people's sins with it. In Tyndale's reading of the passage, one Hebrew term was translated to the goat that escapes. Based on this reading, Tyndale created the English term scapegoat, which became a common metaphor.
All right, during the break there, Mike and I decided to banish our confusion, and now we're going to home in on the issue at hand. We're going to read this article and figure out what this word scapegoat means and where it came from. Okay, more on the word scapegoat. The word scapegoat was actually invented by a Christian scholar and biblical translator named William Tyndale, I should say, in 1530. Now, William Tyndale was a scholar. What is a scholar? Well, a scholar is an academic. By the way, the word scholar and the word academic here, well, they're nouns. They're nouns. A scholar, by the way, very simply, is a highly educated person who has studied some subject a great deal. It sounds like this guy was a Christian scholar, so he probably studied the Bible a great deal. For example, Mr. White is a research scholar in the field of mathematics.
Yeah, I guess it would be safe to say that most university professors would be scholars in their field, highly educated. And of course, if you're highly educated in ancient writings like the Bible, well, you might also need to be a translator because ancient writings are often in languages that are not your own, right? Ancient Greek or Latin or even ancient Chinese are very different from the modern languages we use. So a translator is one who translates from one language into another. It doesn't have to be an ancient language. If you're really good at Japanese and you speak Chinese, you could be a translator. You could maybe translate, new Japanese comic books into Chinese or Spanish or English, but you have a lot of working knowledge of a certain language and you're able to convert it from the original language or from one language into another, making it easy to understand in both cases. It's a noun translator, it's a job, it's a profession, it's a skill. For example, we'll need the help of a translator to figure out what this says. It's written in Portuguese and I don't read Portuguese.
Maybe William Tyndale. Maybe he reads Portuguese.
Maybe. Probably more like ancient Greek or Aramaic.
Anyways, one of the passages Tyndale translated describes an ancient Hebrew ceremony in which a high priest would place his hands on the head of a goat and confess his people's sins.
Okay.
I thought that we had banished the confusion, but once again I'm totally confused. Why are people putting hands on goats and confessing things? Weird. Okay, folks, let's go ahead and talk about this verb confess right now because I don't know what's going on here, but I can define this word. To confess is to tell the truth, okay? Usually when people confess, they've done something wrong and they're finally coming out with it and telling people, yes, I'm the one who did that bad thing. I'm a sinner. I have sinned. Here are my sins. I'm here to confess. For example, I must confess that I had no idea what he was talking about. Yes, I must confess this, or I must admit this.
So you choose not to lie. You choose to tell the truth, even though that truth can be uncomfortable or embarrassing for you. All right, interesting. According to tradition, the act, putting your hands on the goat's head and confessing the sins of your people, according to tradition, the act would transfer the sins of the people, to the animal, which was then let loose into the wild, taking the burden of the people's sins with it. Interesting. In the same way, I guess people sort of, they pray and they say their worries and fears and they feel that they've now been taken away from them and God will help deal with them. In the same kind of way, you sort of transfer all your badness, all the evil things that have happened or that you've done into the goat and then let the goat free and, hey, there go your bad things. They're leaving away with the goat. An interesting idea. In Tyndale's reading of the passage, one Hebrew term was translated to the goat that escapes. So there you go. He's reading Hebrew, which is an ancient Jewish language. A lot of the early versions of the Bible, the Old and New Testament, would have been written in Hebrew. But of course, when you're translating languages, sometimes there aren't exact words that mean exactly the same thing. So one thing,
idioms, right?
Yeah, things like that, and just ancient words that aren't used anymore. So sometimes these translations aren't exactly perfect. And in this case, the goat that escapes is the best they could come up with.
The best they could come up with. It might have been a literal translation, but something is lost or was lost in that translation.
Yeah.
And now we have this term, scapegoat, because of it. Anyways, yes, based on this reading, Tyndale created the English term scapegoat, which became a common metaphor. So there you go. Even though the ceremony made no sense to me whatsoever, I think I get where this word came from, finally. All right, folks, with that, it's time for us to take a break, but don't go away. We'll be right back after this.
Scapegoat 这个字是在1530年被创造出来的。那创造者 William Tyndale， 他是一位基督教学者以及圣经的译者。他翻译的某个段落有描述到一个古老的希伯来仪式。好 ，ceremony 就表示典礼、仪式。那么 Hebrew 可以当名词或当形容词，当名词就表示希伯来人或是希伯来语，当形容词就表示希伯来人的、希伯来语的。好，课文提到，在这个仪式当中，大祭司呢会把他的双手放在一只山羊头上。好，这只不是山羊没关系，他要告解他的子民的罪过。那这个动作呢，会将人民的罪过转移到那只动物身上，接着这只山羊会被释放到荒野，然后身上就背负着人们的罪过。在 Tyndale 的解读当中，有一个希伯来词汇被翻译成 the goat that escapes， 那只逃跑的山羊。后来他就根据这个解读创造出英文的词汇 scapegoat， 于是这个字就成了常见的隐喻，用来指代罪羔羊。 好，先来看3个单字 scholar 表示学者 Jeff 老师说的 academic 它当名词也可以指学者或是学术人士。那么 translator 表示译者翻译员，我们顺便补充相关词性 translate 是动词表示翻译， translation 则是名词表示译文或是翻译。刚刚 Mike 老师在解释的时候，他提到 convert 这个动词，他说把某个语言转换成另一个语言，用到 convert 表示转变转换。那我们常常用 convert A into B 表达把 A 转换成 B。好，下一个单字 confess 表示忏悔或是坦白承认。至于补充单字 metaphor 它是指隐喻或是比喻。接回到课文中。
The goat that escapes. The origin of scapegoat. Many scholars have disagreed with Tyndale's translation, and other translations have been proposed. Nevertheless, the modern meaning of scapegoat, based on Tyndale's work, is one from which the word has never escaped.
So there you have it, folks. A scapegoat is the goat who escapes, or a goat that escapes, even though scapegoats don't escape. They don't escape punishment.
That's right. And don't forget, the goat escapes with all of our sins, all of our trouble going with it. Now, of course, when you have translations from ancient languages to modern languages, there can be disagreements with what everything really means. And that seems to be the case here. Many scholars have disagreed with Tyndale's translation, and other translations have been proposed. There are a lot of problems like this with these ancient works because, the languages don't always line up perfectly, and other scholars can read it and come up with different ideas or different conclusions from what Tyndale did.
That's true, but nevertheless, the modern meaning of scapegoat, based on Tyndale's work, is one from which the word has never escaped.
I get it. Okay. So the word has become a common word, even though how it came about, that is still, of course, something people argue about. But that's just the past. We're still using this word scapegoat. And yeah, it does mean to get blamed for other people's bad behavior or bad actions or failures. Nevertheless, we have this adverb at the beginning of the sentence. This is kind of saying that two things are true, even though they're kind of opposite, and you would find it hard to believe that they can both be true at the same time. It's kind of like saying even so or though or something like that. For example, you could say, I didn't want to see the movie, nevertheless, I went with my friend because they're big fans or something like that. So, normally I wouldn't, but I still did. For example, she didn't think that she was wrong, nevertheless, she apologized. So she didn't feel she should, but she still did apologize. That's nice of her.
There you go. All right, folks, with that, our lesson is complete. No, it's not. It's almost complete, but Mike and I still have to ask and then answer the what do you think question. Mike, have you heard the word scapegoat before? If so, what was the context? And yes, you heard the word scapegoat maybe 25 times throughout this lesson, but how about before that?
Before that.
Before that.
Oh, okay. Yes. It was being used to describe someone who was fired, right? And they were fired, even though they probably shouldn't have been.
Oh, that was the guy who was fired even though his boss had made the mistake.
Someone like that.
Ah, yeah, I remember that guy. Poor guy.
Yeah.
Scapegoat guy.
I know. Happens all the time.
His name was actually Paul Scapegoat.
Was it Paul Scapegoat? Really?
What a coincidence.
Wow, he should have known.
Anyways, folks, with that, it's time for us to say bye-bye. But you should know that there's no one named Paul Scapegoat.
No.
We just made that up.
You did.
翻译本来就没有办法100%精确，不管你翻得再好，别人一定都还是会有其他看法。课文提到，很多学者并不赞成 Tyndale 他的译文，也有提议要用其他的译文。但不管怎么样 ，scapegoat 在现代的用法语义就是根据 Tyndale 他的译文而来的，这是不可磨灭的事实。那我们最后来看单字 nevertheless。Nevertheless， 它是副词，表示尽管如此，或者是然而。它的意思跟 even so， 或是 however， 或者是 nonetheless， 都很相近。好啦，那么以上是这些讲解，同学别走开，马上回来哦。大家好，我是 Hanny。在今天的课程中，我们要介绍5个文法重点。第一个是 have something to do with， 第二个是 refer to， 第三个是 be blamed for something， 第四个是 let loose somebody or something， 第5个是 take the burden of。首先，我们来学习 have something to do with， 表示与什么什么有关系，它是由 have to do with 加上修饰语而来的。something 也可以换成 nothing， 表示与什么什么毫无关系。例如 I'm not sure what she's upset about. I guess it has something to do with her boyfriend. 我不确定她在不高兴什么我想是跟她男朋友有关吧。再看个例句Frank said that he had nothing to do with the accident. Frank 说他跟那一起意外事故毫无关系。接下来，我们来学习 refer to， 表示指的是什么，跟什么什么有关。例如 The numbers refer to footnotes at the bottom of the page. 这些数字指的是页面底下的那些注释。接下来，我们来学习 be blamed for something， 这表示因为什么什么而受到责备。例如 Melissa had a terrible day at work. She was blamed for a colleague's mistake. Melissa 今天工作不顺利，她因为某个同事的过失而受到责备。接着，我们来学习 let loose somebody or something， 这表示释放什么什么，使什么什么恢复自由。如果是用被动语态表达，那么句型是 somebody or something be let loose， 表示什么什么被释放。例如 The dog was let loose in the backyard. 狗狗在后院被放出来了。最后，我们来学习 take the burden of， 表达背负什么样的重担。动词 take 也可以用 bear 或者是 shoulder 来代替。那么 shoulder 当动词，它有担负、承担的语义。例如 Neil had to take the burden of supporting his family after his father's death. Neil 的父亲过世之后，他必须背负起养家的重担。以上是今天的重点整理，我们下次见喽 ！See you next time. Bye.
欢迎收看《就爱讲英文》，我是悠悠，
我是季安。
我跟你说，有时候呢，我们要用外文简报，真的超令人紧张害怕。
真的，我们来讲一下跟简报相关的东西好了。
你知道我们是看到同事很紧张，怎么办？我今天怎么办？
这个时候我们要关心一下，对不对 ？Is something bothering you？ 有什么事情困扰着你吗 ？Is something bothering you？
经理要我做产品的简报。
OK，
我不知道怎么办。
对，经理对不对 ？My manager told me to give a product presentation.
My manager told me to give a product presentation.
产品简报 product presentation。
但是有的人就很擅长，讲得头头是道，有的人就不行，怎么办？
擅长对不对？很这搞就搞那就是呢 ，be good at doing something。Be
good at doing something。
那个 at 后面也可以加名词就好了。OK， 那简报就是 presentation， 然后做简报是 give a presentation， 所以你就可以说，比如杰克，很会做简报。Jack is good at giving presentations.
Jack is good at giving presentations.
对。
不过简报这种事情要去练习啦，熟能生巧，一回生二回熟啊。
对，熟能生巧，对不对？英文也有，叫做Practice makes perfect。
练习就会完美了。Practice makes perfect。
对，练习造就完美。Practice makes perfect。
那你知道，讲这样子听起来好像鼓励的，但是没有自信怎么办？
对方没自信，对不对？给他自信，你就跟他说：“我对你有信心。I have confidence in you.
I have confidence in you.
I have confidence in you，对不对？
对啊，大不了就熬夜准备嘛，一直练嘛，是不是？
熬夜呢有一个说法叫做 pull an all-nighter， 就是整个晚上都不要睡。
Pull an all-nighter.
Pull an all-nighter. 那如果有必要的话哈，如果有必要的话，这个通常我们把它接在句子的最后面哈，就是 if necessary.
If necessary.
If necessary，就是这样。
那我们接下来看
Life action. Hey, hey, is something bothering you?
Yes, but my manager just told me to give a product presentation.
Well, I think you are quite good at giving presentations.
I am, but he asked me to do it in Japanese.
Japanese. Well, practice makes perfect if you practice hard enough.
Yeah, but the presentation is tomorrow morning.
Tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
Oh well, I have confidence in you.
Thank you.
Pull an all-nighter if necessary.
Oh,